Hello, my name's Ned, and this is an episode of a series I call Put Me in Coaching. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about some misconceptions of coaching in esports, and I'm going to focus on League of Legends because that's the game I like to watch. Um, so, what sort of started my curiosity, well, reignited my curiosity in making a video like this because it's been a long time coming, and I should have made it a long time ago when I said I was going to talk about the differences between strategic and head coach in the previous video I made. But whatever. What sparked this was I watched a video today. I watched Beyond the Rift featuring Xpecial, and Xpecial said something that was kind of concerning to me about the the esports scene's conception of what a coach is and what a coach does for esports. So he said something along the lines of, here I'll frame the scenario. Scar or Cutie Pie, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Scar. Asked him, um, "What do you think that Cop did that helped your team the most? What was one of the things he did that your previous ensemble of Korean coaches, as Cutie Pie called them, didn't do?" And first he said, "Well, he did. It's just the things that he didn't do that those other coaches did that really helped the most." And they said, "Well, what's a positive thing he did?" And he goes, "Well, he really fixed our draft." And right there, I wanted to facepalm because yes, draft is an important part of League of Legends, but that's not the coach's only job, and it seems to be the thing that everybody likes to go to. And I'm gonna sort of tie it in with examples from real sports. So in real sports, we'll go with football, American football. You you have the head coach, you have an offensive coordinator, you have a defensive coordinator, you have a whole host of a whole host of assistant coaches, and you have like somebody to draw up the play. There's so many people who are hired on a professional football team. It's ridiculous. But the person who gets all the credit at the end of the year is the head coach because not only is he responsible for delegating responsibilities, I guess that's a little bit redundant, but he's responsible for delegating responsibilities to all of the other people who work under him. He's also responsible for team morale and and making sure they're on to practice on time and making sure they're practicing efficiently. Now, some of that gets delegated out to some of his underlings, but in esports, the job is even more clear for a head coach because you don't have as much money to pour into that whole host of assistant coaches that are below you. So what I see a lot of people doing is crediting the the strategic coach with all of this, with either all of the success or all of the blame for the team, for how the team does. And I feel like that's either not fair to the strategic coach if they're getting blamed for everything. It's also not fair to the head coach if there's a lot of success on the team. Now, a lot of the times this role is one and the same. So, for example, on C9, Reaper is both the strategic and head coach because he's got a brilliant mind for the game and he's earned the players' respect. Now, I would argue because of the language barrier, like I did in my previous video, he might not be the best fit as a head coach for C9, even despite their success in the previous splits. Um, they maybe could have done better and just kept him on a strategic coach, but that's a topic for another video that I already made. Um, but he's pretty good in both regards, and especially good in the strategic coaching regard. His draft is good. He knows how to. He was good at helping the team play well in team fights in the mid and late game, and be pretty objective focused. The early game was a little shoddy, but I don't think they were practicing for that as a team. So, but a lot of people are crediting these strategic coaches with things that don't that they're not doing, or maybe that the team captain is doing if the team doesn't have a professional head coach hired. So one of the examples I saw from this was last split when Weldon was coaching TSM. They were Parth was being credited with all the success for TSM. Now Parth did a great job at draft. He did a great job helping with strategy, but really it was Weldon who was getting the players to practice effectively and getting the players' morale up, and he knew exactly the right thing to say. And I don't blame people for having this misconception from head coaches. They don't see all the things that the head coaches do because it's intangible. It's things like morale and it's things like practice hours that they can't possibly know unless the team does something like TSM did with TSM Legends. If anything, they're going to see the mic checks from that Lol Esports puts out every from time to time, where the team's talking in game, and they're going to hear the team captain saying these things that are going to boost morale, like, "Wow, that was a great play, nice TP. I want to see more of that," stuff like that, and they're going to attribute that success to the team captain, and that sort of part from of the team to the team captain rather than the head coach, which in all honesty, is fine for fans to do. It's fine for a head coach to be a thankless job. It kind of should be in the end. But I think it's naive for people like Expecial to have this view because he's actually in the scene. And it kind of shows me that he's never had a coach that really has driven the team in an effective direction, because a head coach really has two jobs in esports. In other games, I don't know, in other sports, whatever. Especially League of Legends, two jobs: morale and practicing efficiently. So I touched on morale a little bit. You have coaches like Reginald who are going to berate uh, Dyrus for having a bad attitude at Worlds Boot Camp, and then you have publicly shame him, really. And then you have coaches like Weldon who are going to come in and they're going to know the perfect thing to say at the perfect moment. Like, for example, when TSM was feeling bad about losing in the previous split, like they had one loss to like one shitter team, and they were feeling bad about losing to that team. They were going to play that team again, so they were nervous that they were going to pull another loss against that team. Weldon said, "Well, in professional play, we're the top 0.0002% of players, or something like that, and the difference between each pro is pretty minute, and it's not the team that's better that goes out there and wins. It's the team that plays better that goes out there and wins. So today, you guys are going to be the ones who play better, and that's how you're going to win. You're not going to rely on knowing that you're the better players. You're going to rely on knowing that you're going to play better today." And of course, that was the perfect thing to say for the team, and they respond well to it. And of course, they go out and smash the shitter team, no problem. And I think it's those sort of little things that a head coach needs to know how to do, that that are really important for morale. Another thing is that I mentioned was practicing efficiently. Now, this can be anything from setting up a schedule for the players to follow if they're unmotivated to do so, or if you have motivated players, giving them a direction to practice in, figuring out the thing that the team lacks, or figuring out the thing that will help your team best win, and seeing the bigger picture and having the team focus in on it all. Because sometimes you'll have your super dedicated players who don't need help being told, practice now, I need you to practice now. They're going to already be practicing, but they may not know what to practice. They may not have the time to figure out how to practice that effectively, how to set up that strategy. That's why you need somebody who's thinking about that on their own time, getting paid to think about that rather than the players having to do so themselves, so they have time to actually practice it. And some final thoughts. I had a friend who he said something that sort of also inspired me to make this video, which was I was watching a TL game, Team Liquid, and I was watching him and I'm like, wow, this team has a lot of talent. That's the kind of team I want to coach. Give me that team, and I would make them a much better team. It's clear that they have the talent. It's just that they lack the true direction and cohesiveness that a head coach can bring to a team. It's like that team right there might be one of my, in terms of all the LCS teams, this split might be a dream team, and for me to coach. And then one of my friends goes, "Well, what would you draft for them?" And then I was like, "Well, I think you're missing the point. It's not that I can't come up with a draft. It's not my expertise, but if I researched it and I figured out what champions were the strongest at the time and I got player input and I figured out a team comp, I have confidence in myself that I could come up with a pick ban phase, but that's not what I would want to be paid to do. I would want to be paid to make sure that after the strategic coach laid out a strategy for our team, laid out a pick ban phase, laid out a team comp, I would be responsible for making sure that they're able to execute it when they get on stage, and that they've practiced to the most that they possibly can to make sure there's as little chance of failure for their execution when they get there. And that has nothing to do with me being able to call out champions while I'm on a stage in a suit. Thanks for watching.